Hey, Dave Knight here at 123daytrade.com. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. It's a coffee break time. It's Friday. I'm not drinking beer today. I'm drinking my coffee. So let's have a drink. Okay. I let out some of the emotion on the previous video, and obviously I ruffled some feathers, and I'm okay with ruffling feathers at times because it allows me to express the other side of me that lives in here, that demon part of me that lives inside of me, and the part of me that doesn't want to take shit from people that are assholes and idiots. So obviously, if you fall under that category, click off the video. There's an unsubscribe button up top there. Just go away. Go away. Anyway, with that being said, most of you, I would say 98.5% of you, are productive members and like what I do, but the 1.5% that doesn't, leave. It's easy. Just unsubscribe and never listen to me again. If you think I'm a fake and a fraud, then go away. Just go away. There's the exit door. It's not bothering you. Just don't let the door hit you on the ass on your way out. If anyway. So what was I thinking about? I was thinking about as a prelude to the myth of diversification, um, of as a day trader. I want to talk to you a little bit about. Let's just sit here and talk for a little bit. So, the thought process that I go through or have went through into why I trade crude oil. So, the end goal. So, it's been said to start with the end in mind. So, the end goal here is, why do I only trade just one market, the crude oil market? From the very beginning of time, I looked at mutual funds like most of us do, and I put money in mutual funds in the 401k and pick stocks, you name it. I did all that. My past was a trader. I was a trader at a big mutual fund company here in the city of Pittsburgh, and it was some of the best time of my life. It was also some of the worst time of my life because I described that experience as winning the battle and losing the overall war. So I'm not going to get into the details of all that. But anyway, so if you think of a funnel, and the example I want to use is a funnel. So you have this funnel and it's a top end. You've got all the markets. So I'm just looking here. You have all the markets and it incorporates everything. So ETFs and right now we're just talking day trading. I'm not talking about positional or swing trading or anything other than just specifically day trading. So if you think about that funnel, and basically, why do I just trade the crude oil market? I think personally, you should specialize in just one market as a day trader. You should become so good at it that you know the ins and outs and all the nuances as best as you can. But it's always a learning experience. If you've got this spread over 6 different markets like I used to, so let's take that one step up from where I was. I used to trade 6 different commodity markets. I used to pick one in the metals, one in the energy markets. I would pick one in the E-minis. I would trade the bonds. I had a grain market, and then I had a currency market. I think that's all 6 of them going across. So there were 6 markets that I looked at. Like, so, and when they all work together, it's fine. But the problem with trading 6 markets as a day trader, if all of them go bad, if you get signals and every one of them go bad in the same day, you have all that loss that hits. And it can be devastating to a day trading account. I know that from personal experience because I've seen it and I've experienced it. So that where my learning came from, where, okay, you said trade 6 markets. And then I said, all right, let's just trade 3. And then I said, let's just trade 2. And finally, I got to the point where, you know what, crude oil market is by itself, you can make money hand over fist, or the other side of that, you can lose money hand over fist. So I can lose money in just one market, or I can lose a lot of money quickly in a bunch of different markets. If you back up that step to the next level, when I first started as a commodities trader, there was roughly 30 liquid markets that you could trade, and you have the monthly charts and things of that nature, and I used to update. But the problem with that was that I'd get on the phone, and by the time I got to the phone to call the broker and pay, at that point I was paying $45 commission, um, hang up, the market had already, even though it would maybe I get in 15 seconds from the moment of me picking up the phone and speed dial and hit it and talk and tell him, hey, I want to be long at such and such, or I want to be short at such and such. And he gets in, relays the message, boom, boom, you're filled at such and such. And maybe that whole process from picking up the phone, hitting speed dial, and getting the fill is 10 seconds or 15 seconds. But if you just looked at just today, for example, and look at 1 minute of data coming in from 8 o'clock a.m. to 8:01, that is a big difference. And if you waited 5 minutes from 8 o'clock to 8:05 Central Standard Time, you watched the market move from 53.67 all the way down to roughly, what, 53 and 53.25 or something. So there's $300 sitting out there. It moves through the pivot point. Yeah, sure, I want to get in underneath the pivot. Okay, I see it. That's where I want it to be. So either you have to have a sitting order sitting out there. It gets filled, it gets stopped, it gets filled, it gets stopped, it gets filled, it gets stopped. Or now, as it relates to day trading today, we can enter the market with our own finger, right? We have our finger on our mouse and we just click it, and we're in the market within milliseconds. So the speed and execution of the market has really helped us in that sense, as long as we don't overtrade. So the patience factor. I am a much more patient trader as a swing trader, or a positional trader, or a long-term trader. I won't call that a long-term investor. There is no such thing as a long-term trader. You're either an investor or a trader when it relates to. So you're either a long-term investor, and then if you're a trader, then you're in a very short-term environment. So let's separate that. I'm just talking trading. Now, if you move up one step over that, the 30 markets, then you're talking about like stocks and bonds and all the markets across the board, ETFs and the currencies and then gold and whatever. You know, the fun thing that I like to do outside of reading books and coaching football and some of the things I like to buy physical silver. Um, for instance, one of my favorite pieces right now is this one. It's from the Silver Shield. I don't know if you can see that. You bring that across. You see if I can get that. So I like to buy silver, and this is from the Silver Shield mint, or it's supplied. And means something. Now, I'm not a silver stacker like some people, but I like to buy silver as part of my overall retirement plan. I can't afford gold per ounce, but I like to get silver coins and put them away and lock them up, and keep them safe. But keep them safe in a safe. So, um, but so where am I going with all this? If you keep moving up, and you're all there, and then you got mutual funds, and you have all these stocks. And when I first come in to trading, what I noticed is that, like, these stock trading rooms that you see out there, um, there is so many, pretty much every one of them that I've ever watched or paid attention to, or I would say over 90%, probably even higher than that, are front running their positions in front of you. So they will call, I'm going short XYZ, but they've already been short XYZ. They tell their room they're going short XYZ, and then they're buying They're buying into you as you're selling into this person, and he's making the profit. Maybe he's not showing it, but that room is driving him in his room. He's able to front run you into it. And Jim Cramer, for all his wonderfulness that people talk about him, he was nothing more than shenanigans, doing shenanigans on front running. That's all he ever did. If you look at, and then you start with this mad money crap and all this other stuff. I mean, people think that he was like a god in trading or something. No, he wasn't. He was a front runner. That's all he did. Now, granted, he's a lot smarter than I am, and there's a lot of people that are a lot smarter than me. I mean, you most likely are a lot smarter than I am. I always say I'm good at one thing. I've learned how to do that one thing really good, and I keeping on learning about this one thing and getting better day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out, and so forth and so on. But as it relates to like the overall market, I mean, if you're trading multiple stocks, plus you have the $25,000 pattern day trader rule and all the other crap that you got to deal with at some of these higher levels that that people first get involved in the markets. They think they don't even understand futures, and then they get lost in forex or something, usually because that's a next little pie sky dream that people get. And then you get, I mean, I don't know if you get hammered with these um, binary option crap that comes in your email. I mean, occasionally I see someone post to on my YouTube channel some binary bullshit. You know, if I want to do binary option bullshit, I'm gonna go into casino. At least I'm going to have a drink, and I'm going to sit with blackjack or play poker or throw the dice, and I'm going to have fun. I'm going to sit back and drink, and I'm going to have money that I'm willing to lose. Um, that's binary options. That's forex to me. Forex is probably um, where most of the shenanigans happen today when in the future in the trading room environment that you see. You have the shenanigans of the forex traders, and then you have the shenanigans of the stock market traders, and then you have this niche. Now, I've described myself as being in a niche trading, inside a niche futures trading, inside another niche. I guess you can call it energy market, and the niche that I decide to trade is the crude oil market. That's all I specialize in as a day trader. That's it. I don't care. I don't even know where the stock market closed today. I don't care. I will know where gold. I will know where the Dow closes and all the other things because I'll look at Kitco and I'll look where gold and silver and oil and all these other markets that I look at close at. And then of course I can see the Dow. Obviously I know the Dow went above 20,000. But did it stay above 20,000 today? I have no clue. I haven't looked. I don't care. So um, as an overall strategy, I believe that you can see what's happening in the crude oil market kind of influences the rest of the markets anyway. So it doesn't. So if the crude oil market's tanking, then most likely a lot of the other markets that are affected by that are not doing so well. The stock market and all. It's just never know. I mean, I don't keep track of it. But if I look at my evolution as a day trader, would I stay always in crude oil? No, maybe not. It depends. In the future, maybe it's not as active as say another market. When I first started in trading, I was trading the bonds. I was trading the long bond, the 30-year bond, because that's what I knew. The market that I came out in the very beginning of time that I learned was the bonds. And then I progressed to taking on the E-mini. And I traded the ES, and I really like the YM. I like the Dow for a long time. I like to trade gold. I liked wheat and corn and soybeans. Metals, gold is it. I mean, silver is just a double-edged sword in the way it trades. I mean, it's better to buy physical silver than to buy get into the futures market that way. Unless just stay away from that. That's just a really rough market because everything in there is just so expensive. $25 every time it moves. Um, it's bad enough in gold when it's $10, but you know, gold and crude oil are some of the if I could say some of the best markets out there as far as trading. You have the ES market, you have the gold market. If I was going to be a grains trader, I would pick either wheat, corn, or soybeans. If I was going to be a metals trader, definitely gold. If I was going to trade in the E-minis, most likely the ES or the YM. If I was trading on the currencies, I don't know. I haven't kept track of the currencies right now, but probably the staples, either the pound, the yen, or the euro. I mean, those three are the ones that I would go and look at. But each one of these markets, I mean, you can learn and specialize in any one of these markets. But what I would tell you to do is learn that one market, learn the ins and outs, learn what moves and drives the market. You don't need to know all the fundamental analysis of everything. I mean, I don't, outside of the crude oil inventories report, I don't care about a barrel of oil. And the only time I come in contact with oil is when if you're changing the oil in your car, or changing the oil out of my lawnmower, or I'm putting gas in my lawnmower, or I'm putting gas in one of our vehicles. I mean, that's about the only, and of course, oil is in a lot of other things, but gasoline is what we associate with the crude oil market. I mean, you can't physically pick up the ES and say, this is what the ES is. Well, because it's a basket of all these stocks, or the YM, it's a basket of 30 Dow stocks. It's supposed to mimic the Dow. You know, it's not a physical item like the crude oil. It's a market that actually has a delivery at a future date of a physical commodity, and that is a true commodity in that sense. And the bonds is not. I mean, to me, a lot of trading is pretty much looking at the greater fool theory. Something is only worth something as long as someone's willing to either buy or sell it at either. If you're a seller, they want to sell it. They want to buy lower than where you want to sell. Or if you're buying something, they want to sell into your buying. I mean, so it's a greater fool theory as it relates to trading. Why not learn that one niche in just one market? So um, that's kind of my talk I wanted to have outside of the trading day that I did. Um, there's a lot more that I could talk about, but I guess this is like I want to just introduce this subject about why I only trade in the crude oil market. Why do I only specialize in one futures market? There's enough money to be made in one market. If I'm across a bunch of different markets, I just know that can be, and each one of those, let's say I had a $500 stop in every one of them. So in 6 markets, and this is not how it happened to me because it was greater than this, but if all 6 markets hit that $500 stop, I mean, you can figure that out right there. 500 times 6 is $3,000. How many of us are comfortable losing $3,000 a pop? Not many of us. I know there's a trader out there, and there's some of them that do 10 cars. I dream of getting back to trading 10 cars again. Um, it's something that I want to get back to. It's something that I feel very strongly that I will get back to, but I have to take baby steps. And each step is a progression in that matrix that I'm in right now. And honestly, and it's been said, and I really firmly believe this, and I will leave you with this thought. Until you can make money trading just this many contracts, one contract, until you can be profitable trading one contract, then adding this second contract is very difficult. Because trading two, if you're not making money trading one, I can guarantee you more times than not, you're not going to make money trading 2 or 10 or 100. So get used to making money on one contract. That's kind of why I only deal in the 30K combine with one contract in the crude oil market, because I know $1,500 is a very doable goal inside of what the old rules was, 10 trading days in the current volatility of the market. Now, if it got down to like ungodly levels where it was so super low, then yeah, you'd have to find another market to trade. But when you see these dollar moves that happen, like today the market goes roughly from the area that I talked about, 53, 69, 67 range to 52.63. I mean, that's a dollar that's on the table right there. That's $1,000 in the crude oil market. And even if you could get half of that, which honestly, did I get all of the gains today that came out of it? No, definitely not. And in fact, in the combine, I failed the combine because I I I hit max daily loss. So I had to smack the Mac and reset the combine. And I'm the first to admit I've been completely above board as it relates to Top Step Trader in my journey there. And anyone who says that I'm not, well, I can't tell you that. I could let other people tell you that is certainly not true. I've stayed above board um, about as it relates to things that I cannot talk about. Obviously, I can't talk about some things that go on due to conflicts of interest and other things that I just can't. But what I can talk about, and the reason in the very beginning of time that I started 1, 2, 3 day trade was an extension of night capital management because I couldn't express my ideas through night capital management. I opened up 1, 2, 3 day trade, and I am the full owner of that. So, and then obviously and then I've made it part of a sibling relationship to night capital management, and it just works for me, and it's where I am in my life. And regardless of where I am in my life, and if I can trade or if I cannot trade, or I should charge money and not charge money, I would argue that a laborer is worth his wages, his or her wages. That if someone wants to learn, and I've always said this, that I might be just one stepping stone in your progression of knowledge, but the knowledge that I have, I got a lot of knowledge inside this head of mine, and I've got a lot of information I've put together. I mean, if I didn't know what I was doing or seeing, then I wouldn't have posted a video about something that I believed in to start with. Will I do it again? Not in that kind of environment on YouTube because I'm not going to deal with the grief. I mean, it just it was it's and to be right and be wrong. And I said that if you read the blog post, you can see clearly that I failed my combine today. That I specifically said that I screwed up and I failed it. I mean, I don't know how that makes me how someone can call bullshit on me when I'm sitting over there and telling you that yeah, I screwed it up. I was right and I was wrong. I mean, if you read it, it's like, oh wow, it looks like it's going up, then it's going down, then it's going up, then it's going down. Yeah, and then I was able to capture the profit after the 8 a.m. mark, but that was due to things outside of the Top Step Trader environment. And I specifically started when I 2.5 years ago, when I started this journey at Top Step Trader, I said I would keep a clean record of everything pretty much that's going on at Top Step Trader. I never said I would ever share anything above and beyond what else is just going on once I came back. And I'm talking about August of 2014. When I started my journey at Top Step Trader, or TST as I call it, the only thing I've promised from that point forward was that I would share my journey with you as it relates with that company and how hard it is to progress inside there. I, if you have the $5,000 to open up your own trading account and you're confident in your trading strategy, then yes, you can have that futures account. There's other avenues, such as I have another avenue as well. But um, you got to start somewhere, right? I mean, and I started just like a lot of you, just sitting there grinding it out, trying to make my livelihood in one market or and across all kinds of markets. And then I finally learned that specializing in one market is pretty much the only thing that I need to concentrate as a day trader. And then you see that, and that's pretty much, I guess when I started the blog, 2010 or 11, whenever I started, 2012, but 2014 certainly, when I started my journey at Top Step Trader, I've traded nothing other than the crude oil market. That's the only market that I trade. It's the only market that I talk about at 1, 2, 3 day trade for the most part, and it's it, you know. And if I understand this market a little bit better than you do, it's because I've spent a hell of a lot more hours of screen time more than you have. That's probably the difference between you and I right now, honestly, is that I have a lot more screen hours involved. I understand how the market falls and goes up and falls and goes down and does all kinds of crazy things that you think, why, you know, and like one guy says, how did you end up taking such good profit? But yeah, I took 81 ticks out one day and then I lose 45 the next. I can learn from others as well. I learn from others. Trust me, I watch other people's videos. I enjoy looking at other people and what they do. Do I change everything that I do because of one person? Hell no. Where I know that I know I'm really good at holding on to a winner, but where I have to really concentrate my time and energy is the patience of getting in of trades that aren't A trades. And sometimes I accumulate 30 ticks and losses before I'm able to even get into a trade. And I'm looking back, wow, I've got 5 trades on and I'm down 35 ticks. And I'm thinking, what the hell did I just do? So where I've progressed and got better, and trust me, every day is not a good day at 1, 2, 3 day trade. Um, but I've got better over the years of putting it. And if you read the very first page of my blog, what do I say on the welcome page? This website is designed and put together to show the good, the bad, and the ugly side of trading. I've said that from the very beginning. And if you don't believe it, I don't, yeah, what can I say other than hey, I've said it from the very beginning that you know, and would I go back, if I could go back to 21 years ago or whatever, 30 years ago, where I'm 20 years old. I'm almost 50 now, so let's go with 30. So if I could go back in time to my 20-year-old day and say, dude, go into history and coach football. Do not go down this trading route. Do you think that I would tell myself that? You're damn right I would tell myself that. I would go back in a heartbeat and tell myself, don't go down this road. It's full of hardships and consequences and 3 marriages. You know, I mean, I'm in my 3rd marriage, guys. Um, my first marriage lasted 2 years, 2 months. My second marriage lasted 2 years, 2 months, and my third marriage stuck. I mean, we're coming up to our 16th year together, and it stuck. So I got 2 wonderful kids, a 14-year-old and 11-year-old now. I mean, there's so many good things in my life that's come, but the hardships. If you go to the blog, I put a little note on if you go to the blog that I'm gonna my latest blog post that I put together. If you listen to me this far, I put a little note of my handwriting of just one page of my diary that my journal that I put together, the Jim Rome journal that I'm in my 25th version of it right now. I just sat down and I started writing, and I've been doing that for years and years and years. Um, Maybe one day I'll pull out the very first journal and we'll talk about it. But you've got to journal your journey. I mean, you've got to journal your journey. I mean, I can't stress that enough, because all of my best ideas either come out of, they always come out of when I'm relaxed or when I'm out of the market's not thinking. Always my best ideas come. But outside of that, they come in my losses and my experiences in my losses. They come in seeing things that I didn't see prior to that. They come by journaling, by actually writing things down and then rereading them again. When I do my journal now, when I do, this is my journal before this. What I do is I write in the journal, and then when I find something that's really important in a day that I think was, in the very last page of my journal, I do what I call the save page. So every time, I mean, it's like, I don't know, is this like um, an index of things that I've seen? So, like, for instance, I said December 4th, find the hook. What the hell does that mean? Well, that was some of the marketing courses I was going over. Find the hook that I'm in. Um, and then some other things. I mean, and then I go back and I wrote down a definition. I defined what volume tick study meant to me, and I wrote that down. For instance, I wrote the belief that volume on a tick chart will leave behind a footprint in the sand, allowing the astute day trader to make a rather calculated approximation of true market direction on the tick chart. I said see HVS sky bar on 12, 14, 16. It's a high volume bar skyscraper, and I wrote down freedom, flexibility, and income. So I wrote down some of the ideas, and that was like in the very back of this. It's like a synopsis of everything of the whole journal. It's synopsed into one page, and then I've got my and that's what I do. I just write down, and I write and anything important, I throw it out and I put it in there, and this is where my ideas come from. And then I go and read something, but not everything needs to be just like 24/7 trading. I mean, I've finally been able to pull away from trading a little bit because I understand a lot more than probably you are at in your journey right now. And that's just the difference between where I am and where perhaps you are in your journey. So I don't have to spend as much time reading books or deciphering information because I've read pretty much everything Gann wrote. I've read everything that Ralph Nelson Elliott's written or put together. I've read everything pretty much that Jesse Livermore has put together or been written by. I've read everything that Richard Wyckoff has put together. I mean, I've studied all those guys in my past, and then all of a sudden I see something that I think, hey, where do you think my ideas come from? My ideas come from reading the master traders that I call master traders of the past, and then remembering something that they said, and all of a sudden it's like a light goes off and understand it. And for instance, the best way that I can describe it is I like to read the Bible as well, and I know I like to swear on the other side. So one of my favorite books of the Bible is James. In the book of James, it talks about the tongue. And the tongue can be the double-edged sword, right? With the same mouth, we can either praise the Lord or we can condemn the Lord pretty much. So we can say bad things or we can say good things. With our tongue, we can praise someone or we can cut them down. So yeah, I'm a student of the Bible. I'm never going to be a master teacher of the Bible. I am just a student. Even though I have a minor in Bible, I'm only going to be nothing greater than a student of the Bible. I just that's it. I mean, it is what it is. But I will say this about the Bible: the more times you read it, the more times you go through it, all of a sudden something will pop out at you, and you'll get that aha moment, right? You'll get this aha moment, and you'll think, "Oh, I didn't see that before." The way that it's been said, or you'll read a commentary that someone's written about it, and you'll think, "Well, that's kind of interesting. I never really thought of it that way." That's the same thing of reading trading books, right? And doing self-development work on yourself. I mean, why do I do the self-development? Because I didn't have a great childhood. My childhood was around getting physically abused. So, and if you look at the page that I said, when I was in our Bible study on Wednesdays, when I went to the Bible study that I like to go to on Wednesday night, one of the members brought up um, Ezekiel. I wish I had my journal in here. I think it was Ezekiel. It's either 18:19. It's either Ezekiel 18 or Ezekiel 19, verse 20, and it talks about. And I've heard it before, but it didn't really hit me because I've always thought that you get punished from the third and fourth generation. The Lord punishes the fathers and the father's father, and you get punished from the third and fourth generation. But then someone said, "Hey, look, this is not really." So my eyes were open for something happened, and my eyes were open. I'm thinking, hey, wait a minute. No, you're not responsible for the sins of the father. You have your own life, and to see that and someone else say that, it was a huge. I can't tell you the peace that I felt after hearing that. And I've been a Christian, well, profane. I've been a Christian. I was baptized at the age of 13. I haven't been a practicing Christian that whole time. And you hear me, even on a video prior to this, I let an F bomb go out because I'm still a human. The human side of me, that football side of me, the one that wants to beat the shit, living daily shit out of anyone that says bad about me, it still resides inside of me. I mean, would I punch someone in the nose today? No, because what would happen? And I guess I'll share this story because it's kind of funny. I was going every time I go down to my mom and dad's house. And I know this has kind of got off subject, but hey, it's my dime and it's my YouTube channel. I'm talking what the hell I want to talk about. So let's talk about my dad. And this is a funny story. There's actually I'm going to talk about three stories about my dad. Two of them happened when and we were burying him, and I'm sitting in the funeral procession, and people were coming and shaking my hand and saying, "We're sorry for your loss," and all this. So one of the stories that comes about is this gentleman walks and he comes up to me and says, "Hi, my name is so and so. I knew your dad. He was a lifeguard." I don't know how many stories I'll share with my dad, but we'll share a couple of these stories. I guess I said three, so we'll share three. So my dad, these are not bad stories. They're kind of the stories that I can start understanding how my dad was as a person. And I'm going to share kind of an antidote that my wife talked about in the long run that helped me tremendously in my life. And those that don't know, my dad passed away in 2004, and it's been a burden trying to. Anyway, so the first story. He says, "Well, I mean, your dad was a lifeguard, and my mom said, hey, can you watch my son? I need to go and do something, and he doesn't know how to swim. Can you keep an eye on him, make sure nothing happens to him?" And my dad, being thinking it's funny, he said, "Sure, Mrs. So and so, I'll watch your son, no problem. You go do what you got to do. I'll take care of your boy, no problem." So as soon as she's out of sight and out of mind, he said, "It's time for you to learn how to swim." And he picks him up and from the swimming suit, carries him to the deep end and throws him in the deep. Well, before he throws him in deep, and he yells to him, "It's time to sink or swim!" And he throws him out into the deep water for him to learn how to swim. So, and now obviously my dad thought it was funny, but that boy that just happened to was terrifying. My dad was a bully. He was one of those guys that he was, honest to God, what the kids will say a bully is today, defined. And then there's also another story. The second story that kind of relates maybe back to his dad is the story of when my dad went to the Air Force. My dad goes into the Air Force and he said, "I don't want any of my children going into the armed services. I've paid the dues. I want you getting your college degree. I've done this." So, and granted, I grew up in the 80s, and thank God that the environment that we grew up in was fairly safe. So being in the Army or being in the armed services wasn't really an option outside of the only thing my dad said was that if you wanted to go in the Air Force Academy, I would help you get into there if you really want to. we'll work through that. So I mean, yeah, there was something. I just, anyway. So back to the story of my dad. He goes into the Air Force, goes in basic training. Before this, and he leaves. He buys himself as a kind of a graduating from high school present. He saves up all his money and he buys himself a 57 Chevy. Now, later, red 57 Chevy, just mint car from what the one gentleman tells me about it. And he said, so my dad later in life, and I didn't really, I didn't put two and two together when he was living, but he ends up buying a 57 red Chevy and just puts it together from one step to the next step to other people putting it together. Finally, it's in mint condition. It's all original parts. Everything is spanking new, and it's his baby. I mean, he babied that car more than any kid, or just had gloves on when, just the whole thing. It was just his child in that sense. And I'm thinking, why did he do this? And then I find out later on what happened. When my dad went to the Air Force and went into and his station in Missouri, I guess my dad and his dad, what we called him Buddy, got into a fight at some point in their relationship. And Buddy's pretty much said, "Get your car out of in front of this house by such and such a date, or I'm going to sell it." And of course, my dad thought he was bluffing, but he ends up my dad's dad, we call him Buddy he ends up selling his son's car, my dad's car. And then he takes the money and doesn't give him any of it. So he takes all the money. So that is my dad. And my dad would always say, and it was my dad and his mother. I mean, my dad and his sister. His sister always got the kid gloves, and he always got the beatings. And I'm going to talk about the third story now. So the third story is kind of relates to growing up, and well, I don't know if I want to share that third story. So let's go to the second story, and then let's talk about what my wife talked about. My wife said that pretty much that my dad did the best he could with us from the upbringing that he came from. So was he a product of his environment? Was he a product of the abuse that he went through? So all of that, was part of my dad. So that was him and what made him the person that he was. And all of a sudden, like Wednesday night, it just, and I've been thinking about this an awful lot lately, and it was like a burden released. And when I read that in Ezekiel, when I read that you're not responsible for the sins of your father, is not passed on to the child, and so forth and so on, it was like a burden had just been released from me. And I didn't, and I felt such a measure of peace that losing 45 ticks the next day couldn't replace, and failing the combine could not replace either. I could care less about the material aspect of whatever that is. What I just learned on another spiritual level was so much more important. So if we tie all this ball back into the one thing, and specializing in just one market and becoming very proficient in one market, you know, all of this is just a huge learning experience. Whether we're in a matrix or not, who knows? Is there a God? Is there not God? I believe there is a God. You may not believe there is a God. It doesn't really matter when it comes to trading. What matters is that we all have these common ground, and we're all trying to get to a certain point. And the belief center that we have could influence the way that you approach the market. So your psychology or your background and things of your nature. There's a lot better traders than I ever dream I'll ever be. And that's just the fact of life, because maybe they have better discipline, they have better this, they have a lot better of other things than I lack. Um, I've got a lot better over the years, but I still struggle in different places. But, you know, just just that one scripture being pulled out. How many times have I read through the whole Bible and not seen that? And just that one thing that came out of me. It's just like, for me, just specializing in the crude oil market, just sitting there and just, understanding whether you want to believe it or not. I saw, and it's just from all the studying and all the training and all the experience and the screen time. I saw 5408, and then I saw 5263. Those were levels. I didn't dream it up. I just applied the information. And those that know, I have my spreadsheet, right? And this is the spreadsheet. Maybe I'll make a copy and put it on. Where's the GAN stuff? Oh, it's upside down. No wonder. So the GAN stuff is right there. This was yesterday's. So 5408 yesterday, 137.5 angle in play today. Learn from this, David. I mean, I write notes to myself all the time because of my ADD. I never did print off. I printed off today. Must be in the other room right now. But if you look at the spread, if I would show you the spreadsheet from today, where you would see over there in the gold, 137.5 over there on the GAN S side. Let me see if I can get this to focus in right. Oh, well. You would see a level of 5263. And I just learned some of the things that I've learned from GAN, the square of 9, how to determine support and the resistance inside the square of 9. I mean, that's stuff that it's taking. I can't, and my spreadsheet itself, I mean, it's priceless in my humble opinion. You can't pay enough money to have that spreadsheet. I mean, it's a culmination of 30 years of experience expressed out on pretty much that one page that I print off, and then there's a back page behind that with some formulas. But that is the if that's the thing that I pass on. As I was thinking about Jim Rohn, we pass on our journals, right? And who's going to read those journals? Probably my kids, and if my kids don't, maybe it'll be my grandchildren if I'm so lucky to have them, or nieces or nephews. Who knows? Who's going to watch some of the information I put out there? Well, obviously you're watching it. I mean, I'm sitting here talking, and God, you've listened to me for 47 minutes today talk. So, but I will leave you with that. When I saw that one comment, that why would anyone pay for your stuff? You haven't been profitable. Well, that is not entirely true, because at Top Step Trader, I've shown you that I have made money. And I have made money as a day trader in the past, and I've made a lot of money as a swing trader and a positional trader. The day trader has been the one thing, and I still will say this about day trading. Day trading in me has been pretty much a game of break even, or a little less than break even. I have been a much better, but I've been a much better positional swing trader, like some people have seen. But day trading is where where my energy, my talent, and unfortunately my money that I can afford to be, it's where I am right now. Can I afford to be more of a positional trader on my own money in the future and not be tied to a trust or some other form that handicaps me? Yeah, I hope so. Someday I do. But it's part of my life, and it's not your life. It's my life. I choose to be a stay-at-home dad. I choose to live on just a meager amount of money, so that I can do coaching and be in front and take care of my kids, and just be around, be a dad. I mean, that's important to me. I don't know what my tombstone will say later on in life. Here lies a crazy person, or here lies a guy that that was a good dad. I mean, if that's the thing that says in the end, a good dad and a good, if I'm fortunate enough in my lifetime to have grandchildren, if the only thing I'm known of in the end of my life that I am, or that I have been a good dad and a good grandfather, or granddaddy at that point, if that is it, and a good, excuse me, a good husband to my wife, and if that's what's written on my tombstone at the end of my life, then I've lived a happy, successful life. I don't need a lot in this world or life. And I know what it's like to live with a lot. And I know what it's like to live with a little. And like I say, I like to live with a lot more. Right now, I'm not in the I live a lot with a lot. I live with a little. And I make do with the little. And I'm okay with that because it's the point of my life where I am right now. And I enjoy a lot more things, being able to go to Bible study on Wednesday nights, watching my kids right now playing basketball. There's a lot of cool things that's going on in my life that I'm very fortunate that it's all, and all these memories I just stow it away. And like Mary said, when you read some of the stories about Mary when she saw something that Jesus did, and it says something like, and she stored those memories away and locked them up in her head. My paraphrase of that. All of those things that she got to see and witness. I mean, that's what life is about. Seeing and witnessing life and being a part of life and enjoying and finding the enjoyment of things that you enjoy doing. I enjoy my family. I enjoy God first, my family second, and always said trading third. Trading is a passion for me, but it doesn't replace the first two. I like the Civil War. I like reading about Stonewall Jackson. I've read almost just about every book that's been written from way back when Dabney wrote from 1865 all the way up through James Robertson, and when he wrote of his biography on Stonewall Jackson. Would he have been a good trader? In the face of fear, he was fearless. I don't know if he'd have been a good trader or not. Who knows? He wasn't a very good teacher. Maybe I'm not a very good teacher as well. I don't know. I just try to do the best I can with the information that's been put in front of me. And I try to decipher that, and then I try to bring it out and hope that some of this information that I share with you starts to make sense and it hits a cylinder that maybe progresses you in your future. I wish you nothing but success. I truly do. Nothing but success as a trader. I want you to do much, much better than I ever dreamed of doing, and quicker and more efficiently, and and all that. I mean, the best calls I ever have to this day is when someone calls me up from the past and said, Dave, I just want to thank you or I get an email about, something you shared with me years ago. It really resided with me. And thank you so much for the thing that you shared. That is what life is about. It's the little things in life that matter in the end, right? It's that if you write that tombstone at the end of your life, it's what have you contributed back to society, right? That's why I do 1, 2, 3 day trade. That's why I put so much time, energy, and my talent into it. I do it not only for, I guess, my own sanity. I do it because I hope that along this path, that a couple of people along the way pick up the baton and do so much better than I ever dreamed possible. It happened. It's happened. I can count on 6 different people that it's happened to, at least that many. So, and that's because they're better individuals than I ever dreamed to be. They've got better discipline, or they got more money, or not really more money. You can have a ton. That's not a good example. Pretty much discipline and patience. I would say if you could work on a couple things in your trading, you need to work on patience and discipline. Those are the things that really, I mean, the strategies can be taught. The entry points can be taught. There's a lot of things that you can learn along the way. But if you're not a patient person and if you're not disciplined, then trust me, the market will show your weaknesses. It always does. It'll always find the one weakness that you have, whatever that weakness is. And even if you didn't know what your weakness was, the market will find it. It will find, and if it's vanity, it'll find vanity. If it's greed, it'll find greed. If it's fear, it'll find fear. It doesn't matter what that, every one of us has a hang up in trading. And if you say you don't, you're a liar. You're a liar, you're a liar, you're a liar. And until you can admit that you have that one hang up, there's no such thing as a perfect trader, and there's no such thing as a master trader. And as I've always said, anyone that claims himself in this life as a master trader, pick that wallet up and run as fast as you can the other direction. And I stick to my guns on that because I've never met one individual ever that's ever living that's a master trader. You cannot call yourself a master trader. It's just physically impossible to call yourself a master trader. There's just too much that you don't know. And when you think you know something, trust me, the market will humble your ass quicker than you can rub two sticks together. All right. God bless. Take care, and I hope you enjoyed our little talk today. See you on the next video. Bye for now.